thought I was born to be a criminal. I'm going to die a criminal. I thought that was my destiny. I was convinced about that.
Is it true today that when people pray, cloudless skies will break?
So I'm one of the pastors here, as well as the evangelist, so I travel wide and far, as well as involved in pastoral responsibilities here at the church. I'm also involved in the Tuesday morning program, and here we have between 60, 70, 80 people sometimes that come in from the community, and we assist them, we help them with various needs, pray for some, help others financially or with food, and as well as put a meal. We have a community meal once every Tuesday at 12 o'clock, and we sit down, have a meal, and I guess I share, I bring the word. You know, Jesus said, man does not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God. So I'll bring the word of God to the people, and you know, I guess I want them to find the same hope that I found. I just want to share that hope with the people, and I love it, you know. So I desire to just give myself to this work and just help people in general, just to reach out, you know, to love them and to share, you know, the answers that I myself have found.
So Nick, can you tell us a bit about your family?
My father was a tyrant. He ruled the house with an iron fist. You know, if I did something wrong, you know, he would, literally kill me. You know, take out the belt, mate, just bang, bang, bang. You know, whack. You know, just wouldn't stop. Or lift me up, stick me under the water upside down, as a means of discipline. I used to think that everybody lives like this, that it's a common thing, you know, to see your mum getting dragged up and down the hall, you know, kicked and punched, and. But I realised that that's not the way, you know, it should be. At the age of 11, I came home from school one day and my mum wasn't there, and I said to my dad, where's mum? And he said, she's not here, she's not coming home again, and don't ask me where she is. So I lived like that for a period of 3 months, not knowing where she was. And then one day my mum turned up at the school, primary school where I was at, and she took us, myself and my brother, and we just fled from my father's presence. And just literally with the clothes on our backs. Ended up in a little house, no furniture, a table with 3 chairs. For a lounge we had just a blanket that we sat on. Someone gave us a black and white TV set. My mum slept on the ground with a little alarm clock that would wake her up so she can go to work in the morning. And she had saved up enough money to buy myself and my brother a bed. But that was it, you know. I realised that I had taken on a new role, that I actually had to look after my mum and my little brother. I'd often hear my mum going to bed at night crying and just wondering, you know, how we're going to pay the bills. So I guess I started stealing, and started stealing yo-yos and flick knives actually, and started a bit of a business at school, selling them half price, you know, so I had quite a business actually happening, you know. So I started saving money, started buying things, bought a fridge and a telly and paid some bills, and the money started coming in. And I guess I look back now, that was my apprenticeship.
I met Nick roughly about 27 years ago in Croydon when I first moved there. We grew up in a pretty violent society, so only support we had back those days is each other, you know, just the boys. That was the brotherhood we had, because we weren't getting any support at home, you know.
The teacher used to remind me of my dad, one of my teachers. So I used to hate going to school, so I decided to burn it down. You know, so that was my way of just dealing with problems, you know. I thought, man, I don't want to go to school. I don't think it's right that anybody has to go to school, you know, so I just set a match, you know, to the school. So I got caught, found myself behind bars in a boys' home. By the age of 17 and a half, I became one of the worst juvenile delinquents in the state. You know, I look at my records now and I just, mate, can't believe it. You know, I think to myself, Nick, what possessed you? You know, but I had psychologists, psychiatrists trying to, you know, work out what the problem is. Very rebellious, very hard. I never used to think about, you know, what I used to do. My parole officer used to say to me, Nick, you know, if you don't stop and think before you act, you're going to kill somebody. You're going to spend the rest of your life in jail.
We were trying to, I suppose, make our name for ourselves, you know, and the area we came from, we just sort of wanted to make a reputation. That was the only thing we had back those days, because we had nothing else, you know.
You know, looking back now, there's only one thing that used to scare me, and that was knowing that one day the cops are going to knock on my mother's door and say, Mrs. Psarros, we found your son dead.
when I was first dating him, because he sort of like started picking me up every day and we'd go for drives, I wondered why he didn't work. And he said that he travels a lot and deals in diamonds. So I thought, oh, this is interesting, because he did. He'd bring home jewellery and show me jewellery. I didn't know where he'd gotten it, but he'd said he was dealing and that was his job. It was a while before I knew what he was really into.
Did you ever make an effort to change, and how did change come about?
I was about 17 and a half years of age, and I was on a job, and the police rocked up. And I just bolted, I just ran. And the cops started chasing. They got a bit tired, so one of the cops pulls out his gun and it says, "Stop or I'll shoot." I was feeling it was zigzagger at school, so I started zigzagging, you know, and mate, twice, mate, you know. He shot at me, and I just kept on running, kept on jumping fences. Got home, my feet were cut, exhausted. As a result of that, and a number of other things that happened in that week, I began to question, you know, whether I should, you know, quit crime and try to go straight. So I actually set myself on a course, mate, to do that. And I wanted to get drug free. You know, I wanted to get myself a job, and I wanted to change my life. And that's what I did. I actually committed myself over a period of 8 months, where I actually got myself a job for the first time. I got myself off drugs, no more drugs. I actually became a fitness fanatic, and I became addicted, mate, to training. I joined the local gymnasium, started boxing. Right? So I would spend hours just punching the bag, you know, and I stopped even hanging around with my friends. I just wanted a break from everything, just wanted to try hard. I guess it didn't work. First job lasted for 4 months, second job lasted for 3 months, and the third job lasted for 1 month. And I realised that I had a problem with authority. When somebody gave me orders, you know, mate, I used to think they're picking a fight. So I thought to myself, well, this time I'm going to make, you know, crime my career. Play it right, do it smart, learn from all my mistakes. And that's exactly what I did, mate. I sold myself out to organised crime, to do it in a professional manner. I still remember sitting around the kitchen table, got out a blank piece of paper, and I began to write down all the things that I thought I needed to make me happy. And it worked out to about $500,000. And I thought if I had $500,000, I'd be very happy. I'd be the happiest man in the world. And I basically just went for it. So 6 years later, I'd accumulated a lot of wealth. You know, bought myself, you know, a beautiful 930 turbo Porsche. That was the second Porsche. I mean, I had a beautiful 911 SC, but I remember driving past the showroom and I saw a beautiful, nice gold 930 turbo Porsche, and I thought, man, I want that, you know. So just went in and bought it. Building a house that was worth $500,000 alone. Just laid the foundations, you know, to build the house. In today's value, $2.5 million up in Tennyson Heights. So the money was no problem. The money was coming in thick and fast.
Nick was really good at what he used to do. He used to, you know, have this charisma about himself, and a lot of people, they used to look up to him, you know. And me and Nick and a few of our boys, we were pretty good at doing what we had to do to make a lot of money real fast, you know. At our age, when we were, I don't know, in our early 20s, our paycheck used to be roughly, I don't know, $40,000 a month. And that's not bad money for young boys, huh?
So I guess I was happy because I used to think, this is it. This is all that life has to offer. And I've got the best of everything.
It was a funny life because it was high and then there were lows as well. Like there were many really big highs, lots of money, lots of fashion, lots of eating out, the high life of travelling and stuff like that. I think when you're in that sort of situation, it's like it's an abusive relationship really, because when you're in it, you don't even realise how bad it is until people on the outside are looking in and saying how bad it is.
It was only through a friend of mine, a friend who was, you know, a partner in crime. This guy was a drug dealer, drug user, and his life was spiralling out of control. He was using, mate, hard drugs. He'd just been to Thailand for a couple of weeks. You know, he got back, mate, looked like death warmed up, and I'm shaking him, telling him, buddy, mate, open up your eyes and have a look at yourself, you know, what are you doing? But no matter what I said, my words just fell to the ground. And anyway, he took off. And 2 weeks later, he comes around to my house, and I still remember I was paranoid, I mean, I was used to having cops, mate, raiding my house, you know, so I was always ready for the cops. You know, I'd wake up in the morning and I'd get the binoculars out to find out where the cops are parked, you know what I mean, the detectives and undercover agents. So anyway, the front door clicked open and I looked through the window and I see my mate walking down the pathway. And he's got a smile on his face and his eyes are lit up, and I'm thinking to myself, mate, what's happened to him, you know? You know, I thought to myself he's using a different type of a drug. So I opened up the door and I said, mate, what happened to you? You know, and he said, Nick, he goes, Jesus come into my life, man, you know? Jesus, you know, he died, but he rose again on the third day and he's come into my life and he's forgiven me of all my sins. And he's talking about being born again and baptized. And I'm thinking, what, you know? I've never heard of words like this before. And he was saying, that's why, you know, there's a smile on my face. He goes, Jesus broke my habit, he set me free, and I couldn't believe, you know, what I was hearing. Not only that, but then he began to focus his attention on me, and he said, Nicky, you need to repent of your sin, and you need to turn to God, you know, and you need to stop doing what you're doing. I said, I don't need God. I said, I just bought myself a beautiful Porsche, you know, so I gave him a pat on the back, and I said, I need God. He says, you don't understand, mate. He says, there's coming a day when you're gonna need God.
How did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable, mate, extremely uncomfortable. In actual fact, I had a contract on a man's life at the time. And it was only because of what he said about there's coming a judgment day. I've never heard words like that before, but it was like a sword maybe plunged in my heart. Even though I didn't understand all that he was saying, I knew that something that he was saying, it was like, I knew that on the inside, that he was saying something that was the truth. And as a result of that, I got on the phone, mate, and I cancelled this contract. It was only a short while later that my wife actually became a Christian.
How did that start to affect you?
I guess in a way, I mean, I said to my wife, I mean, because I was afraid, to be honest with you, I was afraid of the Bible. I did not want to know what the Bible had to say. And I said to my wife, I said, honey, you're a Christian, okay, that's fine. I said, you live your life your way, I live my life my way, and we'll be both happy. You know, so we try to live our lives like that, but my wife will open up the Bible and she'll try to tell me stuff, and I said, look, I don't want to know. But I guess I saw her attitude change. She didn't want to go for a drive in the 932 about Porsche anymore. And she would challenge me about my life and the way I'm living my life.
He'd pick me up at church in his $120,000 Porsche, and I'd feel embarrassed. You know, there was part of me that was repulsed by that lifestyle, but because I'd read scriptures in Peter that said, you know, submissive wife and stuff like that. I was going to win my husband over with my life. I wasn't going to nag him, and I've never nagged him. I've never been a nagger. I was going to win him over with the love of God, and that was it.
She started attending these prayer meetings, and she'd come home, and there I am, I'm counting all this money, and, you know, she would see a lot of things, you know.
And he'd tell me to count money. There'd be more money than you could lay your eyes on, and I'd say, I don't want to count your money. I'm not going to count your money. You know I don't like counting money. And, you know, he'd have jewellery and he'd say, pick jewellery. He'd have jewellery everywhere, and I'd say, I don't want your jewellery.
She'd say, we prayed for you tonight, you know, and I'd get angry, and I'd say, what do you mean you prayed for me? Don't pray for me, pray for yourselves. I don't need your prayers. So, I mean, it was later on, it was revealed to me that she would go back to the meetings and she would bawl her eyes out and say, it's not working, prayer's not working, you know, but little did she know that, mate, God was doing something in my life. And we found ourselves on the Greek islands, and it was there while I was just relaxing, you know, sunbaking, that my wife was reading the Bible.
I said, honey, you know, you should hear what this says here.
And I guess she got me at the right time. I said, okay, what is it?
There was that scripture that said, what shall it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his soul?
For he who finds his life shall lose his life, and he who loses his life for my sake will find his life. And there I am on the islands of Greece, and again it was like a sword, mate, just been plunged in my heart. And I said, what? I said, how can it be? How can one human life be worth more than the entire world and all the treasure in the world? I couldn't understand that. And she said, honey, when God created man, he created him with an eternal spirit to live forever. But the decision you make for or against him is going to determine where you're going to spend eternity.
And I could see God at work straight away. It was like, it wasn't dead words, they weren't words that just fell upon the wayside or anything. They were words that went straight through to his heart, and I could see it. I could read it in his heart that he was convicted by those words. I actually remember part of that honeymoon that he made a phone call from a phone box back to Australia and cancelled a massive big criminal job that he was in at the time. And I was standing outside the phone box and I recall him cancelling it. I don't know why I didn't ask him any questions. I was naive and young and stuff like that, but God knew. God was at work.
So you went to Egypt, and what happened there?
It was actually in Tutankhamun's burial site. There we are, in his tomb, one of the richest men, who has ever lived, and is lying there before me. And I remember just looking at all the gold and the treasure and the stuff that were actually stuffed in these tombs. And the tourist guide said that all these pharaohs died with a forethought they're going to be resurrected to a new life. And all their servants, the mummies who were actually, in the tombs with them, were also going to be resurrected to a new life, and they were going to serve these pharaohs forever in their eternal kingdom. And that's why they put all this treasure and stuff in there. And I'm standing thinking to myself, mate, you've been deceived by what you believe in, right? And it was amazing because as I was thinking that, it was like God spoke into my heart and said, son, you've been deceived by what you're believing in. You're trusting in your golden riches, but the day's going to come when you're going to let go of those things. So right there, I could see myself in this coffin, and I'm actually being lowered under the ground, and all the things that I was working hard for, all the things that I had my eyes on, and everything that I had was left behind. And I was going down. And this big question mark just hanged over my head. Where am I going to spend my eternal destiny? And how could God forgive someone like myself? I've done too many bad things. I was a rebel. I did many bad things, involved in organised crime. How could God possibly forgive someone like myself?
You came back from overseas, back to Australia. You're still involved in a life of crime, but you discovered things about God. How did it all fit together?
When I got back to Australia, my friends said to me, Nick, there's something different about you. And certainly there was something different. I began to think about my eternal destiny, which is something that I never used to consider before. I used to drive in my Porsche, mate, down Port Road, Torrens Road, doing 260 kilometres an hour without a seatbelt. And for the first time, I'm wearing a seatbelt just in case I actually died and had to meet God. Because I knew in my heart that I wasn't ready to meet God. I wasn't ready to face Him. So I'm thinking about it. I still did not understand everything, right? Because I thought becoming a Christian was about trying to just live a good life. And then hopefully, God is going to put all my good deeds on one side of the scale and all my bad deeds on the other. And if I've got more good than bad, then I'm going to make it in. But I really felt that God was calling me and drawing me by His Spirit. And God was calling me to lay down my life and walk away and just put my faith and trust in Him. I didn't know how I was going to do it, how it was going to happen, how I was going to even get out of the stuff that I was involved in. But I knew that, mate, the winds of change were blowing across my life. I remember one day we're driving up to this crop that I had my eyes on. We're organising it, we're looking at a $10 million plantation. Right? And we're driving up there, and mate, all the way there and all the way back, I talked about Jesus. I can't believe it, mate. Things like that never happened before. I remember going out with another mate of mine. We would go out, hit the streets in Harney Street, and I would get dressed up, and put on $100,000 worth of gold jewellery, rings on every finger, gold chains around my neck, gold watches, I had a Coke spoon, and I would just dip it into this Coke bag that I'd carry with me, and just stick it up my nose, right, and just party, mate. Go to the casino, blow a couple of $1,000, no big deal. And I remember going out with my mate, and I said to him, mate, I said, forget, I don't feel like partying tonight. I just want to, mate, let's just sit down and let's just talk. And mate, we're sitting down, we find ourselves in a coffee lounge while everyone's partying, the music's pumping, and we're talking about Jesus, mate. That wasn't me. That wasn't the old Nick Psarros, you know what I mean? So there was a change that was taking place.
I dragged him to, because I was pregnant, I couldn't drive anymore. I dragged him to a Bible study with Jeffrey Bingham, and he sat in the back, and Jeffrey Bingham preached on the cross.
And I'm listening to him speak about Jesus, and mate, there it was. My eyes were just open, and I realised who Jesus Christ is. I made the connection as to why Jesus died, because I could never understand why He died. I couldn't understand how Jesus' death on a cross had any connection with me whatsoever. Jesus lived 2,000 years ago. I'm living today. How has His death got anything to do with me? but I realised it did it for me. I realised that on that cross that Jesus Christ had died for Nick Psarros. I realised that all my sins were nailed upon Jesus on that cross. Mate, I just wept and I just cried out, God, help me. Help me to become a Christian. Help me to follow you. Help me to walk away from all this rubbish that I've, got myself mixed up with. The burden that I was carrying just lifted off my shoulders, and this incredible, incredible peace just flooded my heart. Mate, a peace that I've never experienced. I've tried most drugs. I've chased the dragon. I've been on cocaine and speed and marijuana, hashish. I've tried everything, just trying to, find this peace. But no matter what I tried in this world, mate, I could never find that. And yet, that night, this peace flooded my heart. I knew that I was one with God. I knew that I had been put right with God.
And next minute, this person sitting in front of me looks like me. Same place, but he wasn't really the same person. He's holding this little Bible he used to have. It used to be like a packet of cigarettes, What the hell's that, man? Like I said to him a long time ago, I would have understood if you got killed or, you ended up dead in the gutter or something. That was the life we lived, but now we're really seeing him turning to religion,
That when people stare.
I knew that God was calling me to surrender everything, my possessions, everything, into His hands. So I just walked away from everything, mate. But I had the joy of God in my heart, and I didn't need all the things that I thought once upon a time that I needed. Happiness is not found in what you have, but in who you know. And so I guess it was a journey, mate. It's been a journey. It's been 13 and a half, nearly 14 years now, and my life has totally turned around, 100%.
Well, why don't we put our hands together? Let's welcome our Pastor Nick Psarros, all the way from Adelaide. As Lance said, I have travelled 3,000 kilometres from Australia. I have come to tell you and that I have a message of hope for you.
He has a heart for people, no matter what race they are, no matter who they are, no matter how bad they are or what they've done. You can still love them and hug them and share with them that they need a saviour.
I'm actually quite proud of him, because now when I see him, like nearly brings tears in my eyes, because, I don't know, once upon a time he had a lot of value on money, and he was greedy and selfish, but he's learned this lesson, and it's like, to him that was a journey at that time in his life, and now he actually can put it back to the people,
I became a Christian on the 13th of March, baptised on the 31st of March. I was brought here by a friend of mine.